With God, forgiveness is automatic. The moment we give up, the moment we say mercy and call upon the Lord, God immediately forgives. And God immediately restored his sanity now. It's amazing how God can restore a person. I think of the demon-possessed man in Gadara who was violent and naked and living among the tombs, and people just avoided that area. They didn't even go over there because that guy lived over there somewhere. Jesus casts out the demons, and then it says after Jesus cast the demons out of the man that the man was clothed, seated, and in his right mind. That's what Jesus does to a person. He puts them in their right mind. He restores them. He restores their sanity. And look what it says. Once the king's understanding was restored, he immediately began to worship the Lord God. He blessed the Most High and praised him and honored him who lives forever. He worships. His response now is worship. In verse 35, all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing. He does according to his will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth. No one can restrain his hand or say to him, what have you done? Look at the lesson that Nebuchadnezzar has learned. He says, all the people of the earth are nothing compared to God, including Nebuchadnezzar. He learned that he's a nobody, like all of us. He's humble. He was never humble before. Now he's humble. He learned that God is the one in control. He learned that God does whatever he wants and no one can stop him, and no one has a right to really question him for what he does, because God is sovereign. And he had to learn that the hard way. And again, sadly, some of us, we have to learn those lessons the hard way, through experience. We don't just read it on the page and say, okay, I believe it, and all right, I'm in 100%. For some of us, we can't take the online course. We got to do it in person and go through it so that we come out of it saying, yeah, God is who he says he is. God does what he says he does. Verse 36, at the same time my reason returned to me, and for the glory of my kingdom, my honor and splendor returned to me. My counselors and nobles resorted to me. I was restored to my kingdom and excelled, and excellent majesty was added to me. Verse 37, now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all of whose works are truth and his ways justice. And those who walk in pride, he's able to put down. Ask me how I know. Nebuchadnezzar says, all his ways are just and true. And those who walk in pride, he's able to put down. The sovereignty of God is the great lesson of this chapter. It's the great lesson of the book of Daniel. 5 times in this chapter, the message is plainly declared. In verse 17, it says, the Most High rules in the kingdom of men. In verse 25, the Most High rules in the kingdom of men and gives it to whomever he chooses. In verse 26, your kingdom shall be assured to you after you come to know that God rules. In verse 32, again, the Most High rules in the kingdom of men. And in verse 34, I blessed the Most High. What do you think God wanted Nebuchadnezzar to learn? The Most High rules. What a perfect message for us who are living in such a time as this. That the Most High rules. He rules in the kingdom of men. He rules in this world, and he rules over your life, and he rules over my life. Whether it seems like it or not, whether I can see it or not, he rules. He rules over all. These are the last recorded words of King Nebuchadnezzar. We're going to leave him here. After this, he passes off the scene in the Bible. And this is the last word of Nebuchadnezzar. We leave him now in Daniel chapter 4, and we leave him not only as a sane man, which he hasn't been for the last 7 years, but more importantly, we leave him as a converted man, as a believer. And I believe we'll see Nebuchadnezzar in heaven. Now again, he had to go the hard way. He had to go the scenic route to get there, as many of us do. But he got there. And it took Nebuchadnezzar 7 long, humiliating years to finally humble himself before the Lord and acknowledge God rules. God rules over all. May we be always quick to break off sin in our lives and to be quick to lift our eyes to heaven and to call on the name of the Lord. And may we always remember, no matter how it looks in the world or how it may look in your life, God rules. He's on his throne in heaven, where he always is, high and lifted up. And the train of his robe is still filling the temple. Nothing's changed. He rules. He is high above. He is over all.